Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745. I don't acknowledge enough, but I want to thank all the watchers over on Rumble. All my videos go over there as well, and I know I get a few handfuls of views per video, but thank you for watching over there. But of course, thank you to everyone on YouTube or those that are watching now live on Twitch. Thanks so much. If you haven't already, please subscribe or follow as appropriate, and you can hit that like button. So we're going to continue. Well, I talk about try to focus on this time period, American social institutional situations as we move forward. That's okay. A little more here because we don't want to build up negative amounts. And I must say, so far the viewing numbers have been good for the series, and I know we're not yet at war, but I do really hope the viewing numbers stay good. I am looking forward to this playthrough, but if you guys don't watch, there's no point in me making the series, so I got to keep that in mind. So please, everyone out there watching now or later on YouTube, please do so. I notice, I don't know why, but viewing numbers are really low today for the live stream. Don't know. Am I talking too much modern politics? Maybe. But or is it just America not interesting enough? Always, if you think I'm doing something too much or too little, please let me know. Doesn't mean I'm not. Doesn't mean I'm going to change, but I do keep it in mind. Yes, we're gonna. Again, I hate these damn payment things. Okay, low popularity. Yes, the Soyuru is launched. I do want to balance it out because I think enough people are here for my commentary on things. But okay, we're right on the line here. That's good. We can make a little bit more lever down. So it's mostly focusing industry building. And, okay, naval air targeting. Okay. Until we get to the world of nuclear weapons, which obviously happens at sort of the end of this game, America definitely has the advantage of the sort of invulnerable base of operations. And it really is that superiority tactics. Yes, we're going to cancel that. Really does make America different than everywhere else. Yes, I am. No, we're not selling you. We're not giving you control over some of our critical resources. We'll sell you these up here. We got lots of extra. But we did have that big payment to the Navy. We're going to wait till this gets a little larger before doing that scientific investment. There we go. That is probably large enough. So let's invest in the scientific community. A lot more capabilities to research. And sort of focus on naval stuff, get it up. Early. Yes. I don't know, should we do pocket battleship or just battleships when we really get to producing? Need superior strength, that's for sure. We can start to do 38 technologies, but I prefer to do the 37s that are available. We're going to do tank destroyers. I do not know. America certainly had them, so I guess so, yeah. We might as well make sure the ones that we produce are good. And part of the reason I'm talking about various things is just because otherwise America is honestly sort of boring at this point. If I do this, well, maybe we'll get some time to flow without things popping up. I don't know. Soviet Union. Tungsten, tungsten, tungsten. Okay, where are we on tungsten? How much over or under? We only have, no, we're not going to do this because I don't need to get rid of all my surplus here on tungsten, so no. Not even for the Soviet Union. Air launch torpedoes. Doubt, fine. Warship damage control, small warship. Yeah, okay, 34. And that will submarine engines advance. Well, we could do some push ahead a bit with some submarine technologies. Crude, yes, you can have some crude oil. Yeah, we'll let you, Bulgaria, have some oil. Okay, we'll push ahead on submarines here, especially these. It'll take a little longer to research. Already pushing a bit much. Okay, well, we'll let that go. Interception tactics. Owner mine investment. Yeah, we may do some of this later, but not now. 6 months is good. Waterman Aerobeel. Okay. On February 21st, 1937, the Aerobeel was developed by Waterman Aeroplane. Made its first flight. It was a tailless aircraft intended for civilian use. It worked as an automobile on the ground and the plane in the air. It generated little consumer interest, and only 5 were built. Many iterations were built in later years, but never took hold. The last iteration was made in May 1957. Huh. I didn't know about this. I definitely knew about various wannabe flying cars. This looks like a pusher propeller, though I don't see the propeller there, but that's the only place I can see where a propeller would be. Yeah, big propeller whizzing around behind you. I don't. I just looking at this mechanically. I don't see a way of transmitting. I mean, maybe up here, but I don't. I don't see a way of transmitting drive force to the wheels. So this looks to be purely a propeller-driven vehicle, whether in the air or on the ground. I mean, I could be wrong about that. Like I say, maybe there is some sort of front wheel drive, but I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think that's a terribly good idea, especially because with a propeller driven, whether if it's rear or front, you definitely have people walking into the propeller, and you have a lot of backdraft or whatever you want to call it. Behind the propeller as you drive down the road, and potentially putting a lot of dust and other things up into the air. Yeah, even that's probably not a really good idea, but definitely during the Depression. And there's a lot of this type of, not necessarily, flying car combo things, but there's a lot of technological development going on, but just there's not a market for it because of the Depression. Can't quite figure out who to sell it to that has the disposable income to buy it. Okay, single engine prototypes have advanced. Very nice. Okay, so that now unlocks all of that, and we will get on airplane and postponing it. Yes, so just the draft. Yeah, we don't need the draft. Great War analysis. Let's yeah, we're going to continue that. And Calgary, which is also, we're going to continue both of those. Okay, yes, you can have rare materials. Dual purpose guns, heavy AA guns. These are, I believe, onboard ships here. Yeah, we're going to stop that. The Marines will do batteries. It's got a bunch of industry, very nice. Okay. Motorization of infantry. Right. Okay, good. That was here. I'm normally used to having that done by the Germany. Okay, does hurry up a bunch of new things to be researched eventually. Okay, export of zinc to Soviet Union. Well, let's check on our zinc. Okay, we're at level 5 surplus. Okay, we'll trade. Well, let's trade some zinc, big time zinc with the Soviet Union. Metal. Okay, motorized support choice and activation of the trucks. We'll do activation of these trucks. Yes. Again, I think those are a bit later. We'll probably just do some of my standard motorization choices. Okay. I don't know. Is Starstreak still there? He may not be. Okay. Now let's do engineers. I'm not going to do assault gun. Not going to do light armor. Well, we're America. Maybe we should do light armor. That way we can have light armor with our infantry divisions. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. Yeah, good. Yeah, I agree with you, Arno. Hmm. I think we're just going to see about ruling the air enough that we don't need anti-air support. So let's just increase our artillery and increase our anti-tank. And we're finished. We need to get the Stuart's production. Yes, the Stuart production and production line. Rather good. Yeah, rather good light tank, the Stuart. For one that serves through a great bulk of the war, I think that is probably about the best light tank. The best light tank really would be the M24, in my opinion. But okay, government focus. I just do war ministry because if we get the negative effect, it doesn't affect us in any real significant way. So we'll do that for now. Okay. Well, it's okay. Yes, we want to do light armor detachment armor. Yeah, I think we'll just do regular artillery focus and not go with rockets. Okay. Lewiston Auburn shoe strike. Again, somebody who made all these is really interested in workers' rights, which is fine, but it does tell me to focus. No, I know the meme for War Thunder and whatnot with the M22, but you look at the nice 4-man tank, the M24, a 75 millimeter gun on it, basically the same gun as the Sherman, but it's light tank capable, running around. Yeah, it's the vehicle. It's the good vehicle. Over the winter of 1936, the United Shoe Workers of America, a subunit of the Labor Union Congress of Industrial Organizations, that's where you get the AFL CIO. This is the CIO part. Asked the shoe workers, unions, and other states to help them forming labor organizations. The union came to Auburn to solicit members, but the Shoe Workers of America failed to receive recognition. The workers of the factories wanted higher wages, shorter hours, and decent working conditions. The combination of these problems, the union's lack of recognition, reached its peak in March 24, 1937, when workers voted to go on strike. Within a week, 5,000 of the 6,300 shoe workers in Lewiston and Auburn were on strike, and 19 shoe factories closed. Workers' rights, yeah, okay. Second London to, okay. Yeah, well, it's letting us scrap the where, don't know, up here. Moving forward. This down a bit. Because we're producing a lot. Oh, we're two into the two. Okay, we want to produce more ICs. ICs everywhere. Yeah, Cleveland, Ohio. You can have it. They need to garrison you, but producing there. Yeah, Omaha can have a industry. Oh, as well. Let's also do Kansas City, Missouri here. I'm walking through. Oh, I didn't pay enough attention. Okay. There we go. Just a few more. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. One of the biggest problems with the M22 doesn't kill infantry that well, where the Stuart does, or not. Well, the M24 does. The Chaffee, heavy anti-tank guns, tank destroyer focus. We're going to do tank destroyer focus, not heavy anti-tank guns. Export of aluminum to Peru. No, thank you. Battle of Rumford 1. 1,000 kilogram bombs. Okay, yeah. Let's do some of these other researches. You can run over infantry. Well, it's not always that simple, Arno. Run over the infantry, yeah, but that's more like oh shit, we need to, than the plan. The plan should be to shoot the infantry, run them over if all else fails. No trading with the Netherlands. One of our tungsten sales have expired. Okay. Aluminum sales expired. We get more money. Cool. Chrysler Auto Strike UAW rapidly found success in organizing with sit-down strikes, first in General Motors plant in Atlanta, Georgia in 1936, and more famously, Flint's sit-down strike began in 1936. The first strike ended in February 37 after Michigan Governor Frank Murphy excuse me played the role of mediator, negotiating recognition of the UAWs by General Motors. The next month, auto workers at Chrysler won recognition of the UAW as a representative. Okay. The viewer drop off may just be simple explanation, but it could also be politics. Viewers based on Twitch is very leftist. Yeah, well, because I'm looking at both the Twitch numbers, ZZ, as well as YouTube numbers, because I'm live on both of them, and I should have left somebody up there, but I wanted to garrison Detroit because I would have thought that would have been bigger. Okay, Belgium requesting permission. Yeah, you can do that. Yes. As long as you're civil about it, I will be happy to have you post opposing opinions. And I do not want. I've only watched clips of some of these people. I do not gang up or belittle people who post different opinions, because you are right. You know, Hassan and other Twitch people are very left in their viewpoints, and they have a very big audience. I don't belittle people that I disagree with. I think I'm very civil with them, and I actually want people to give me decent view opposing views. Okay, that's fine, I guess. People's Republic. Nope. Okay, now we have some surplus here. But much more in here. Oh, something is okay. Maybe one of those things grabbed the big effect of. Yeah, still maybe a little more than needed there. We've got a bunch RIC's port strike tactics have advanced. That is here. These things can be done at any time. We'll let that continue. But we want to get some of these ground up first or earlier. Nope, not to Yugoslavia. Mountain infantry activation. Okay. United States Housing Authority. United States Housing Authority, or U.S.A, was an agency created during 1937 as part of the New Deal. It was designed to lend money to states or communities for low-cost construction units of about 650,000 low-income people, but mostly homeless, were started. Sentence doesn't make. Progressives early in the 20th century had argued that improving physical environment of the poorer citizens would improve their quality of life and chance of success. The private sector saw an economic danger in nationalized housing, and somebody really left-wing has made these events. Insisted that there be clear differences between main housing industry and welfare programs focused on people too poor to buy, but people who are worthy and deserved help. There was concerted effort, in the words of Senator Robert F. Wagner, to avoid competing between private and public sectors. What do I want to say about this? And I don't know much about this program other than what I've just read. I am not against the concept of helping people get housing. You have to look at your society, one at your society, and two, what you want your society to be like, what your society is. Singapore, to the best of my knowledge, has almost zero true homeless. That there are government programs, basically government-owned housing for what would otherwise be homeless people to live in, whether they're old people incapable of really getting a job and working enough to make money to buy housing in population dense Singapore, or other people that whatever reason incapable of paying the rent or whatever. Now there is also massive controls on society in making sure that there is no conflict between the Indian, Chinese, Malay, and Anglo, because there is still a remnant Anglo, cultural groups. Meaning they will not tolerate, whether it's Muslim or Hindus, religious stuff, both of those coming out of India, shall we say, or out of other things, causing conflicts. They will not the government will not tolerate it. So do not disrupt your neighbors along these cultural lines, and these are very hard and fast functional rules, whether in their society. Now they are also very strong against immigration to Singapore, meaning you don't just get to show up on Singapore's island and they'll give you they'll give you housing. Okay, so it is a small controlled city state. Yes, I'll say I know there is the Anu or Inu or however you pronounce it people up here in Hokkaido, but they're very small. They're fading as a culture, unfortunately. But functionally, Japan in the modern day sense is, and yeah, I know there's different culture between down here and, less formal, more formal, but functionally it's a single cultural society here in Japan. They also have very, very little homelessness. But they also have massive cultural controls on society. Some of them legal, as in laws. Others are just heavily enforced, by society, social enforcement. Okay. So we're looking at, hello, Urbisnicht. Oh, hey, good to see someone still playing with me. I'm pretty sure that this game annihilated the majority of my brain functions due to its complexity. Well, I like it. I'm glad. Hopefully you'll like at least watching this. Hello, Malvigil. I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation. Good to have you here. So, most Americans back in 1937 or in modern day would balk at the cultural controls of Singapore or Japan. They would just find them horrendous because they are significant. And of course, we're looking at America now, scale, big. The more you have the government do whatever it is, the more that the government does, the more it does, the more problems it causes. This depression that is going on in 1937 is entirely the government's fault. It's not the government's fault that it started, but it's the government's fault that it's still going on. The government is doing everything it can to continue the depression. Now, I know the people that are running the government don't think this, but that is a fact. And if you look at it, anybody who really understands economics, you look back at it, it is doing everything it can to continue the depression. Now, they're also doing a lot of things to make the depression less bad, meaning trying to keep people from starving to death or whatever. I mean, it's not like, they're doing everything evil. They're just doing everything they can to continue the depression. And this private sectors and public sectors. See, that is sort of the key term here. And so, and again, I really don't know, because I've not looked into a lot of the details. I've watched some documentaries and whatever, but I don't know all the details of all these programs. The idea of nationalized housing and having a public sector and private sector of housing is, in my opinion, a very bad idea. Now, I'm not a hardcore Austrian economics type person. What would work, I think, as a decent middle ground is, and I'm generally speaking for a flat tax when it comes to income taxes on personnel, on personal income tax for sure, on corporations and industries, generally speaking, too. But I'm also for using incentives versus clubs. And so the idea that not so much that the government should fund building of huge numbers of housing, but the government can do things like give loans to companies to build quality but small, maybe like apartments, housing, so that there is an incentive to build what would be cheap housing, whether it's apartment buildings in cities or more freestanding in more rural areas, to build housing, but keep it in the private sector, but keep it with an incentive to do it. And it's a complicated thing. Okay, so because I'll fucking tell you, you don't need any of this fucking shit if you have a raging economy and everybody just is making so much shit-ass money that they don't know where to spend it all. Okay? So that's the whole effing point. And I know I just sort of got on a little bit of a rage there. But if you're not having a fucked up economy, you don't need these things. And the reason you have a fucked up economy, there's 3 reasons that I can come up with. You have a fucked up economy. 1, some sort of natural disaster. I just saw a video how somehow they're not really sure how there are no locusts in America, in the North American continent anymore. And we used to, in the 1800s and before, be plagued by locusts. They're not quite sure, because locusts are sort of a type of grasshopper, and it was just a 10-minute video. But no one is quite sure why locusts are apparently are extinguished in North America. All of the other continents have locusts, but North America does not anymore. And they think it's maybe because of the American farming and some of the other stuff. But all the other continents have locusts, but there are sometimes famines or other economic disasters because there's natural disasters out there. Okay, that's one reason for fucked up economies. Okay, I'm going to add a fourth. There's 4 reasons for another second reason is warfare, because if you blow up all the factories in the country, you got a fucked up economy, or warfare is a reason for a fucked up economy. Okay, those are 2. You can't help those two. Nature is going to be what nature's done. We can try to mitigate it, try to keep it from being too bad. But there's hurricanes. We don't know how to stop hurricanes. We don't know how to stop tornadoes. We can try to build in such ways to make it not so bad, but there are natural disasters. We can't stop earthquakes. I live in Southern California. I've lived through a lot of earthquakes. We've now learned to build more resilient for at least the normal earthquake, even big ones, earthquake activities to get through it fine, but we can't control earthquakes. So we can't control natural disasters, but we can work to, make the effect not so big. We can't control wars. No matter what the anti-war movement, whether it's right or left or whatever, because it's varied at different times, sometimes some group of people will just decide to go to war with you. You don't have the choice of not, other than just complying with them and then giving over to that. But then once some evil group wants to take you over, okay, well, we'd rather have you take us over than go to war. Okay, fine. But then there'll be some other evil group that will fight that evil group. So you can't, even just by giving in, can't always avoid war. So you can't always avoid war, and you can't always avoid natural disasters. Okay, those are 2 of the 4 reasons that I have for a fucked up economy. Another reason for a fucked up economy is economic change of a significant element. One, sort of the one that many societies have gone through, is industrialization. Is moving from muscle power Although they want to move us back to muscle power and wind power, or whatever, meaning windmills or water mills, or muscle, human or animal muscle, moving into industrialized, tractors, coal-fired power for a factory, or modern electricity, or whatever, moving from one, and so you go from needing a lot of people on the farm to go, hey, we don't, this farm had 100, had 100 people working on it. Now we only need 10. So bye 90 people. Go do something else. We just don't need you. We're going to produce as much food as we can produce, and we're going to do it with only 10 people instead of 100 people. So you go to societies, will go through the point of going like, oh shit, what do we do with these 90 people? Do they have factories for them to go through? Great. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. So when you go through societal change, and you can look whether it's in Latin America or look into Africa, which has very little farm industrialization, what are you going to do if you start farming like they at least used to in some parts, and still do in some parts of South Africa, farm in an industrialized, efficient manner? What are you going to do with all the excess people in a lot of part of Africa? They may not have an industrial job to go to. So that would go, oh shit, what are you going to do with all this extra labor that doesn't have a transition to go to? That is partially why, especially in the third world, communism has been popular, because it has been an answer presented to these people as to why, or what to do with some of these situations. But so point number 3, the reason you have fucked up economies is you have a dramatic, and you can talk post-industrial society in which industry becomes even less. Because if you look at the movie Modern Times, starring Charlie Chaplin, which was focused in this video, or even before it, the movie Metropolis, they got all those guys were either going like to or from the factory through the sort of corridor, all just sort of shambling along, but in sort of step with each other. It's just sort of like worker drones. Well, that's what Fritz Lang and crew in 1920 whatever, that made Metropolis, thought the future was going to be like, however many years in the future. Just have all these worker drones. Well, they did not understand or conceive of computerization and, not just mechanization as in farm, like industrialized farm. I've seen videos. I've got plows and harvesters. There's not a person sitting in the vehicle. It's just all computer done, and it just knows where to go and plows the fields. You don't even need a person. You just and we have driverless cars that are being taxis or whatever, driverless buses. And factories that you see these factories. Linus Media Group, the web channel or YouTube channel, he went into a chip manufacturer in Israel for one of Intel's major plants, and just showed all these machines that are they move these little boxes that have the the CPUs in them through all these stages, and they'll go back and forth through these stages 10-20 times, they say, and it's all just automated. They move around tracks overhead, and it goes to the thing, and there's nobody running these machines. These machines are running on their own. Now, there's also some stations that all have people standing in front of them, but there's a bunch of machines that don't have it. But they talk about how that they have these racks that they move around all the tools, and they're all laid out. They say it's very much like a race car pit crew, because when they either because they don't even want the machine to go down, but when it's scheduled for whatever maintenance it does, the sort of human pit crew comes in there and does the maintenance, or if something isn't working right, replacement of parts, to get that machine back up as fast as pit crew possible to keep it going. So yeah, you need people in it, but you don't need all the mindless drones moving these things from station to station around. They've got this all computerized now. So Metropolis thought that for some future city with flying cars, they were going to need a bunch of worker drones that just droned on about doing these things. That just a depressing job. Well, we are now in this, information technology age. And so, yes, going through these different ages, and if they happen slowly over time, economies will just adjust to them. But you very well may get disruption where it puts a lot of people out of work, and then you go, well, what do you do with all these extra people? You only need so many Starbucks baristas, after a while you don't need any more of them. And okay, so but those are transitory periods. Okay, so that's 3. The 4th reason you need programs like this, in my opinion, because in my opinion you only need programs like this is when the economy is fucked up, is because the government's fucking it up. That is why you need these programs. Because without the government being fucked up, yeah, you're going to have poor people, whatever country it is. You're going to have poor people. But poor people, if the economy is working right, will generate a certain amount of income, and they will be able to have some relatively decent housing for the society. But it's because of the government here is why they need these, over 500,000 or home units for about 500,000 low-income people. I don't know how are they getting this number. I mean, I know I'm just because the way that people are putting this, I do think this is a lefty putting in there. Is what is this? Units for about 650,000 low-income people. Are these 650,000 houses because one person living in a single family? No. Okay, so is it a two people per family, or is it 4 people? 2 adults and 2 kids. How many? How are you figuring this out? How much? Yeah. So this is why this kind of stuff is what makes this so bad. Whenever you get the government into doing this, as opposed to saying, hey, we'll give you some tax incentives if you build more low-cost housing or whatever. I mean, there's which still causes problems, but causes a lot less problems. So, from the game perspective, I don't see why we wouldn't do this, because according to the game here, lose 5 in dissent, which we have almost none. Lose 250 money. Yeah, that's cheap. Really, that's cheap. And gain popularity for the Democratic Party, or lose money here, lose 10%, gets economic boost until, okay, economic boost until that. But we gain a dissent. I see boost. Well, money. Well, since we are the Democratic Party here, Progressive Party somehow is rampaging big. There was a I didn't transfer the event over. I think this is Father Coughlin's party, which were sort of a pro-fascist party. Yeah, we could use internal factors. Yeah. The dissent is not what's scaring me. I'm going to go with do it, but yeah, no, just rant about how bad it is, and it is. But okay, expand mines, expand factories. Yes, deploy motorized engineers. Yes, yes. Artillery focus. Yes. Okay, so what I think we get, yes, all of these we want to move to the top. Okay, mountain infantry activation. Where is it? Where is it? Looking for a. Oh, here. There we are. Okay. And with everything that's going on, gamer ranting how evil everything is. Evil, evil. Gamer set sees evil everywhere. We'll do medium velocity. God, that sounds like a good. Okay, well, that did give us enough boost to get our popularity back to medium from low, which that's what I was sort of worried about. We got a little bit more, so let's do light bombers so we can start researching in there as well. Dear God, EPD is still on. I don't know what that is, Ringo. I mean, I've seen TikTok videos like when they're posted links on Twitter or something like that, but I do not have TikTok as a application. I probably should be making TikTok videos, but they seem to be popular with all you kids out there. Do a TikTok of me shooting something with a. Let's move this over here. Shooting with War Thunder, something that could be a quick, short TikTok video. But I don't have it and don't do it. So I don't know who EPD. He's a bad man. I don't use it much either, but it might be a branch out for my channel. Yeah, definitely. Just because, from what I've seen, including some sort of political rants, including this one woman who went on about just don't let inflation happen. We say this piece of paper has this amount of value. We say this, it's not real. It's all made up. So just blah 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 bullshit. She doesn't understand what the hell she's saying. But it seems TikTok seems to kill brain cells. I'm not absolutely sure that it does, but it seems to. Sort of that, and that I think is maybe not so much. I mean, maybe TikTok, the algorithm or whatever, and what it shows you is not a. Should be more good steel. I'm looking for. Click there already. Well, where do we? Looking for good concentrations of iron or steel or whatever we call this, metals. Oh, that looks like a good one. Okay. May as well bump that one up big time. And here, yeah, 6. So keep that there. Coal fields, I think these are sort of quite honestly wasted for us. I'm not going to spend too much time looking for them. Just make sure we drop it down on something of a coal field. No. But the idea of a short form video in and of itself is not necessarily a terrible thing. Base of 10, yes. Okay, so that's that there. Don't want to put all my eggs in one basket somewhere. It's a riot or a certainly kills a 10. Yeah, well, yeah, if you're just hello NMDB, if you're just looking at that, I'm sure it does. I don't know what's killed entirely the youth attention span, because the youth attention span, whether it was back in MTV days, before the internet was anything, short videos, short programming, or whatever. And I'm not saying it isn't getting shorter. I'm sure it reinforces it. I'm sure it could. There's a lot of idiots out there who don't understand the markets and how GDP and supply and demand work. Value of a country's money should, send them to Venezuela, because as some people pointed out, the dollar or pound or euro or whatever, yen, represents a unit of labor. And that's what it represents. How many minutes or hours does it take for you to earn that dollar? We're playing as America, and I'm an American, we'll keep saying dollars. How long does it take you to earn that dollar? And it's very much set up as an exchange rate. So instead of going to work for somebody and they'll hand me a can of beans, I go to work for somebody, they'll hand me some pieces of paper that I could go exchange for a can of beans. It's a medium of exchange, and its value really is based upon what you can produce with it, what you can pay. I'm going to pay you, $5 an hour to go, pick those tomatoes or whatever, or $10 an hour is how many tomatoes does they pick in an hour that I get for $10, and then the other costs of farming there, then how much you can ship those. So it represents a medium of exchange. And so you can have inflation from multiple ways. One way you can have inflation is by just giving money out, which the government has been doing, including under Trump. This isn't just an anti-attack on one party or another. Just giving out money that will cause, or paying somebody more for the same job will cause inflation up. Other kinds of inflation will be a shortage in something, like GPUs, I should say. Not enough GPUs out there to meet demand. So, like I did, I spent way over, because I wanted to upgrade and didn't have to, but I felt I needed to. I had a working system, but better. So I overspent on GPUs because I had the money, and so I overspent on it, from MSRP, from what the cost it is to manufacture that GPU, because NVIDIA or whatever, now they might make more, but we've got a 5% or whatever profit margin after our production for the GPUs, when there was in competition. Actually they had excess production, but knowing what it's going to cost to make it. So it's not because it costs more to make it, just because the demand is so up there. That's another reason for inflation. The third sort of reason for inflation is simply the cost of manufacture going up, which could be like energy, whether it's oil, for gasoline to drive around the farm, or for coal to, generate electricity. If the cost of energy goes up, so the cost of driving that farm truck around to get the tomatoes goes up, that just means the price of tomatoes has to go up. So there's multiple reasons for inflation, and sometimes all three could be going on. Not enough food, cost of food, energy goes up, without necessarily being that the oil companies or the energy companies are actually making any more because maybe their costs have gone up. Maybe, say, shipping fees go up because ships get sunk in a war, and so they raise insurance prices. So it's not maybe that the evil oil companies are making any more per barrel of oil. It just may be more cost in getting it out. And taxes get fed into this thing. So if you tax something more, like oil, the end user that ends up paying those taxes, yes, the company hands the money into the government, but it's the user of the oil pays the taxes actually. So, but the cost of the tomatoes may go up, not enough tomatoes, and the government may be dumping in more money into the system at the same time, and all those things can cause inflation to go up. Yes. Hello, Greg Bedford. Just a note, gamer, if you don't put spies into counter-espionage yourself, you're going to keep having popularity problems. Right. Now, I currently have counter-espionage as lowest. We've caught 2 spies. I will up it to equal to national... Well, we'll reduce national unity down to lowest because we are moderately... national unity here, but I have been doing some of this. But thank you, Greg, for the tip, and that may help us with popularity. I normally do ruling party support for Germany, anyways, because don't feel bad. I dropped some cash on my 3060. Oh yeah, well. Prices now are going down on GPUs. I understand, but I've had my nice GPU for some time. You can, if you're on Twitch, you can see I have my basic system stats there. I'm gonna comment on this one. I don't know specifically about the chocolate workers strike, but we will see here. Okay, well, I think we're going to end this episode, but don't live stream. Keep hanging out. We're going to keep doing more here. But those watching later on YouTube, thank you for your patience. I hope my rants are at least interesting. And again, if you disagree with me, either whether I got some of my facts wrong, post the correct facts below. Happy to do it, or just a differing opinion. Tell me why you think I have the wrong opinions. We keep everything civil. I'm not upset. I actually want people who disagree with me to be here and to comment. I like that. I don't want to just speak into an agreeing echo chamber. So thank you, everyone. See you next time for more hearts.